On April 10, 2024, a team of marine biologists aboard the Sequest submarine set out on an exciting mission to explore the deep waters off the coast of California. They aimed to study a newly discovered shark species rumored to possess unique intelligence. The team comprised 4 professionals, each passionate about marine life and exploration. Dr. Rachel Hayes, the lead marine biologist, had over a decade of experience studying shark behavior. Known for her innovative methods, she sought to protect marine habitats by understanding these creatures. Dr. James Lee, a marine ecologist, focused on sharks' roles in aquatic ecosystems, while Mia Patel, an oceanographer, specialized in using technology to analyze ocean habitats. Lastly, Tom, an experienced submarine pilot, ensured the crew's safety and navigation of the submarine. The team marveled at the underwater beauty as the submarine descended into the ocean's depths. Brightly colored fish darted past, and corals swayed with the currents. After a few hours, they arrived at the designated research site, where signs of the new shark species had been detected. Excitement filled the team as they prepared to gather samples and collect data. Suddenly, an unexpected mechanical failure struck Sequest. Alarms blared and lights flickered. Tom quickly checked the systems, but it became clear they were stranded deep in the ocean. Panic began to spread as the team realized the gravity of the situation. They were surrounded by unknown and potentially dangerous marine creatures in the depths. The tension increased when they spotted a school of large sharks circling the submarine. These sharks were unlike any they had encountered before. Their movements were coordinated, and they appeared aggressively guarding their territory. Fear gripped the team as they realized they were dealing with a mechanical crisis and facing intelligent, dangerous predators. With limited oxygen and failing technology, the team knew they had to act quickly. Gathering around the control panel, they worked on a plan to escape. While James analyzed the data they had collected, Mia checked the emergency systems, hoping to send a distress signal. Rachel reminded the team to remain calm and work together. Their survival depended on combining their expertise and staying focused. As the crew worked to find solutions, the sharks outside continued to circle, their presence a constant reminder of the dangers lurking in the deep. What began as a mission to study a new species quickly turned into a fight for survival against the harsh realities of the ocean. Once filled with wonder, the underwater world had become a place of fear and urgency. With the sharks growing more aggressive and time running out, the crew had to find a way to escape before their situation worsened. They knew that every second counted as they raced against time. As the team aboard the Sequest submarine gathered their thoughts, they knew they had to act quickly. The sharks outside continued circling, and the constant sound of water against the hull only heightened their anxiety. Tom quickly assessed their remaining options, reminding the crew they still had some emergency tools and equipment. Mia examined the sonar and communication systems, hoping they could send a distress signal. While the main systems were down, she searched for any way to reach the surface for help. Meanwhile, Dr. Rachel Hayes closely observed the sharks through the small viewports. She noticed their aggressive and intelligent behavior, and realized the sharks were not acting randomly. They used the ocean's darkness to their advantage, working together, which both fascinated and terrified her. Mia suggested creating noise and vibrations to distract the sharks, theorizing it could give them a chance to escape. The crew agreed it was worth a try. They gathered materials and prepared a device typically used for research to emit sound waves in the water. As they activated the device, the sound echoed through the depths. The sharks paused, reacting to the noise. For a brief moment, the tension lifted as the sharks swam away from the submarine, drawn to the distraction. The team felt a surge of hope as they realized their plan might work, but they knew the diversion wouldn't last long. Rachel and James quickly took charge, preparing to navigate the submarine back toward the surface while the sharks were distracted. Tom carefully monitored the controls, guiding the vessel upward with precision. The team communicated constantly, staying focused as they ascended through the dark water. The sounds of the ocean surrounded them, and their survival weighed heavily on each of them. However, just as they started to gain momentum, the distraction device began to fail. Mia noticed the sound waves diminishing, and panic surged through the crew as the sharks sensed the change. They began to return, moving more aggressively toward the submarine. Time was running out, and the team realized their window of opportunity was closing fast. Rachel quickly adapted their plan. She suggested using the remaining emergency oxygen to create bubbles, hoping it would obscure the shark's vision long enough for them to escape. It was a risky maneuver, but the crew had no other choice. Working together, they released bubbles into the water as they continued their ascent. As they neared the surface, the team felt renewed hope. The bubbles created a temporary barrier, confusing the sharks. The ocean surface came closer with every passing moment, and the light of day began to break through the darkness. Finally, they breached the surface, and sunlight flooded the submarine. The crew erupted in relief, knowing they had escaped. Though their ordeal was over, they realized how fragile the balance between humanity and nature could be. Their experience had changed them, giving them a deeper respect for the creatures of the ocean. Rachel, determined to share their findings, knew this mission had uncovered valuable insights into marine life and sharks' intelligence. Their journey had just begun. Guadalupe's surrounding Pacific waters were crystal clear on the morning of September 12, 2024. Situated 150 miles off the coast of Baja California, Mexico, the island has gained a reputation as one of the world's top locations for up-close encounters with great white sharks. Adventurers had been seeking the excitement of coming into contact with these enormous predators from the safety of reinforced metal cages for decades. For such expeditions, the island's rocky cliffs and abundant marine life provided the perfect backdrop. World-famous adventure photographer Mike Hall and his fiancée Sarah Reynolds were on board the Isla Explorer, a special ship built for diving tours on that fateful day. Mike had envisioned the trip as an opportunity to use his camera to document the unadulterated beauty of the ocean's top predator. Reluctantly, Sarah had consented, more because she loved Mike than because she was particularly interested in sharks. She had never been at ease with animals that had too many teeth, and great whites had a reason to make her uneasy. A few tourists and researchers who were all excited to feel the excitement of diving with sharks joined them. The cage diving adventure had started just like any other. 2 strong steel cages, each intended to give divers a secure viewing platform, had been lowered into the water by the Isla Explorer's crew. The great white sharks circled the cages with an odd mixture of curiosity and indifference, attracted by the smell of chum in the water. Mike was at his best with his camera in hand. He skillfully navigated inside the cage and took picture after picture of the sharks as they silently moved through the water. While her heart thumped in her chest, Sarah clung to the side of the cage. Her heartbeat quickened each time one of the sharks approached, reminding herself of the strength of the cage and the innumerable divers who had come back safely from similar experiences. She tried to concentrate on her breathing. However, there was something different about the sharks' movements that day. They seemed more frantic and agitated. Once serene, the water now appeared to be churning with a faint but increasing tension. The biggest shark surfaced from the depths as the hours went by. Over 18 feet long and covered in scars, this enormous great white was a veteran of innumerable underwater combats. As they observed from the boat, the crew recognized it right away. They called it El Matador, and it was a common visitor to these waters, which were renowned for their size and viciousness. The shark moved slowly and deliberately toward the cages, staring at the divers inside with its black eyes. In pursuit of the ideal shot, Mike leaned closer and placed his camera between the bars of the cage. Mike was too preoccupied to notice Sarah cautiously nudging him as her sense of dread grew. He had photographed dangerous animals for his career, so this was another opportunity to get a unique shot. The shark lunged abruptly and unexpectedly. Unlike the others, this method wasn't slow and was curious. With startling force, El Matador pressed its enormous head against the cage, causing the steel bars to groan. Even though Sarah screamed and automatically moved away, Mike didn't move, keeping his camera up to his face. The cage trembled as another even more powerful blow came. The boat's crew let out a shout, but the water and the growing panic below drowned out their voices. The unthinkable occurred in a matter of seconds when the shark's strong jaws clamped down on the bars, bending and twisting them like wire. The cage gave way before anyone could react. As the shark's head poked through the opening and its teeth flashed in the faint underwater light, Sarah's mind froze in fear. Mike didn't have time to get out of the cage because he was stuck against the side. In order to pull him from the cage and into the open water, the shark's jaws closed around him. Sarah found the subsequent scene to be a blur. She recalled the surface screams, the water's rushing, and seeing Mike's body vanish in a cloud of blood. Moments later, the crew dragged her out of the cage, but she was barely conscious, shock numbing her mind. The shark had made its meal, which meant that Mike could not be traced, as the shark had disappeared into the deep. The only thing left was a memory. Sarah was in a daze for days following the attack, unable to comprehend what had transpired. After Mike left, she had been powerless, stuck in a nightmare from which she was unable to escape. Media outlets swooped down on the story like vultures. The shark cage tragedy and the fatal breach were widely reported. Still, none of the stories adequately conveyed the horror Sarah had seen. They made Mike a martyr of adventure, a man who had given his all for his passion. For Sarah, however, the situation was much more nuanced. Not only had something gone terribly wrong with the shark that day, but she also couldn't get rid of the feeling that cage diving as a whole had failed. The world moved on over the next few weeks, but Sarah was unable to. Then she went back to Isla Guadalupe on a chilly October morning. This time she arrived by herself, resolved to face the sea and the memories it evoked. She was instantly identified by the Isla Explorer crew, who expressed their sympathy and advised her not to return to the water. For condolences, Sarah wasn't present, though. She needed to comprehend. In an attempt to piece together what had happened, she spoke with shark experts and marine biologists for hours. According to some theories, the shark may have been startled by the camera lens's reflection and thought it was prey. Some hypothesized that the increased chum in the water had exacerbated the shark's aggression. Sarah wasn't satisfied with any of the explanations, though. She ultimately realized that she might never be able to learn the whole truth. Sarah found a tiny bit of peace while standing on the deck of the Isla Explorer and gazing out at the vast blue ocean. No amount of human meddling could completely control the creatures that lived in the vast and unpredictable sea. In a sense, Mike had been drawn to the ocean, which he had loved. However, neither she nor the shark were at fault. When they entered its domain, they both accepted the risk. Sarah felt lighter as the boat resumed its journey to the mainland. Although the guilt had started to lessen, the grief would never go away. She had confronted her fears and the ocean, and while she didn't have all the answers, she had enough to continue. August 22, 2024, on a remote island off the coast of Maine, lighthouse keeper Sam Thompson proudly performed his nightly duties. In his late 40s, Sam, with his salt and pepper hair and weathered skin, had dedicated his life to ensuring ships safely navigated the rocky waters. Though solitary, he cherished the island's beauty and ocean. Sam's wife, Lily, an artist, drew inspiration from the island's landscapes, while their children, Ben and Mia, enjoyed exploring the tide pools during evening walks with their father. However, Sam grew uneasy during his patrols. He noticed an unusual number of sharks, their erratic movements close to shore hinting at something troubling beneath the waves. While checking the lighthouse one evening, Sam noticed Ben and Mia playing near the water's edge. They splashed and laughed, oblivious to the growing shadows beneath the surface. Sam called out to them, urging them to be careful. He felt a deep dread wash over him as he watched the sharks swim closer. Suddenly, the situation escalated. A loud splash pierced the night as a large shark lunged toward the shore. The children squealed in shock as the water churned violently. Sam's heart pounded as he sprinted to them, adrenaline surging. The shark snapped its jaws as it attacked, but Sam pulled Ben and Mia away just in time. Shaken and trembling, the family hurried back to the safety of the lighthouse, fear etched on their faces. As Sam tried to process what had just happened, the growing aggression of the sharks weighed heavily on his mind. His family was now at risk, and he realized he needed to uncover what was triggering the sharks' behavior. That night, while calming his children, Sam reflected on the island's history and the locals' tales of environmental disturbances, ships dumping waste and overfishing. Could these disruptions be driving the sharks' sudden aggression? Determined to protect his family, Sam decided to investigate further. He would search for answers to the island's dark history. He knew he had to act quickly, not only for the sake of his loved ones, but also to restore balance to the ecosystem. The next day, Sam began his research, speaking with older island residents who had lived there for generations. They shared stories of the changing waters, declining fish populations, and unusual shark behavior. Some believed the disturbances had angered the sea creatures, causing the recent attacks. Sam listened carefully, realizing that restoring harmony to the waters was essential. As he gathered information, Sam prepared for the challenges ahead. The sharks remained a serious threat, but his determination to protect his family and the island's ecosystem strengthened his resolve. He knew that understanding the shark's behavior was key to a solution. Sam continued his research, talking with fishermen, local historians, and environmentalists familiar with the changes. Each conversation revealed a piece of the puzzle, bringing him closer to uncovering the truth behind the shark's aggression. Sam learned about the impact of overfishing and pollution on the marine life surrounding the island. Runoff from nearby farms and boat waste had affected the waters. This pollution had diminished fish populations, which in turn may have forced the sharks to hunt closer to the shore searching for food. Sam felt a deep sense of responsibility, realizing that human actions influenced the natural balance. As Sam gathered more information, he knew it was time to take action. He called a meeting with his family, explaining what he had learned and sharing his plan to raise awareness in the community about better environmental practices. He hoped to work with local fishermen and residents to develop a strategy to protect the waters and the wildlife. Meanwhile, shark attacks continued to plague the island, instilling fear in the locals. Tourism sharply declined, and the once lively beaches now stood empty. The fear of shark encounters hung heavily in the air, and Sam realized he had to act quickly, not just for his family, but the entire community. While patrolling the shore one morning, Sam spotted a group of sharks swimming near the beach. They appeared agitated, and leading them was a massive great white, larger than any Sam had seen before. Its commanding presence filled him with awe and fear. Sam watched carefully, trying to analyze its behavior and uncover what was fueling these increasingly dangerous attacks. Determined to gather more data, Sam prepared to dive into the water. Armed with a camera and a safety buoy, he swam cautiously toward the group of sharks, hoping to capture footage that could shed light on their behavior. The water felt colder as he neared them, and the weight of the situation pressed on him. To his surprise, the great white didn't attack. Instead, it circled him, studying him with an almost curious caution. Sam remained calm, filming the shark to document its behavior and collect crucial evidence of the changes affecting the island's marine life. The other sharks began closing in as tension built, their movements growing more aggressive. Sensing the increasing danger, Sam swam back to shore, his heart pounding. While he had captured valuable footage, the risk was too high to stay in the water longer. Back on land, Sam shared the video with his family, who watched in awe as the great white moved with power and grace. They realized how crucial it was to understand this creature and its role in the ecosystem. Sam knew the footage could help raise awareness, and he felt responsible for presenting it to the community, urging them to protect their waters. He organized a town meeting, showing the footage and sharing his findings. Sam passionately explained the importance of respecting the ocean and its creatures, connecting the dots between pollution, overfishing, and shark aggression. The community listened closely, realizing how their actions had affected the marine environment. The meeting sparked discussions about sustainable fishing and the need for cleaner waters. Slowly, the townspeople began to understand the consequences of their behavior, and a sense of collective responsibility emerged. Sam felt hopeful as he watched the community unite, driven by a shared mission to protect the environment and restore balance to their island. In the aftermath of the meeting, residents began to take action. They organized beach cleanups, reduced waste, and started discussing creating a marine-protected area around the island. Sam's efforts had initiated a change in mindset, and the community was beginning to realize the importance of living in harmony with nature. As days turned into weeks, the community's fear of sharks diminished. Working together, they felt empowered to protect their waters and ensure the island's and its wildlife safety. Sam continued to monitor the sharks' behavior, hoping to see signs of a return to normalcy. Tranquil yet luxurious North Ari Atoll, located in the Maldives. The sun set over crystal-clear waters that stretched out endlessly into the horizon. It was a resort island, secluded and exclusive, where wealthy honeymooners and vacationers from around the globe came to escape the monotony of life. The island known as Kuramathi Isle was a stunning blend of white sands and lush palm trees, surrounded by vivid coral reefs and teeming marine life. Ava Harper, an American tourist in her mid-30s, had arrived at Kuramathi Isle with her sister Meryl for a much-needed vacation. Ava had insisted that they travel to avoid the stress of their everyday lives in Chicago after Meryl's recent tumultuous divorce. With its tropical setting, seclusion, and tranquility, Kuramathi seemed ideal for that. World-class facilities were available at the resort, and the staff was incredibly helpful. Everything had gone according to plan during the first few days. But then there was a tragedy. One of the things Ava would never forget happened on the fourth day of their visit. Just off the beach in one of the resort's designated safe zones, a honeymooning couple named Jared and Alara Voss had been snorkeling. The water glistened beneath the sun's golden rays as it rose. Ava had been half asleep in a beach chair when she heard the frantic splashing. Squinting at the water, she sat up and noticed Jared flailing wildly. Alara, his wife, was yelling. Ava glimpsed a dark and ominous object amid the confusion. A shark, its dorsal fin clearly visible, tearing through the water at a terrifying pace. The water surrounding Jared turned red a short while later. It happened very quickly. Although it was already too late, resort employees hurried to remove Alara from the water and try to save Jared. The pristine beach was now marred by blood where his body had been dragged beneath. Tourists stood motionless on the beach, unable to comprehend what they had just witnessed as shock swept through the air. The resort's management moved swiftly, but not in the manner one might anticipate. Citing routine maintenance and asserting that Jared had disregarded safety precautions by going too far out into the open ocean, they closed off the beach rather than publicly confronting the attack. The resort manager, a calm man named Elias Nevin, blamed Jared for his own negligence and declared it a tragic accident, which Ava overheard. The other guests were even led to believe that it might have been a freak accident that had nothing to do with a shark, possibly a simple slip on some jagged coral. However, Ava was aware of her observations. Without mentioning Jared's passing, the beach reopened the following day. It was not a monument, and there was no recognition. Alara's cries of sorrow had been muffled behind closed doors, as she was also discreetly taken off the island. Ava felt uneasy about the entire circumstance. She was greatly satisfied with her ability to see things clearly, but she couldn't get rid of the feeling that this wasn't the first time something similar had occurred. Meryl was at the resort spa later that night, so Ava sneaked into the lobby to do some research. In its brochures and website, the resort boasted about the safety of its waters, strongly suggesting that shark sightings were uncommon and that the area was closely watched. However, Ava rejected it. She began making inquiries informally with the bartenders, the employees, and even some locals she had met while on a trip to a nearby island. Regarding the incident, everyone appeared uncomfortably silent. Ava does not start to piece together the truth until she meets a local fisherman named Dune. Kuramathi Isle had a dark past. Dune, a middle-aged man with deep-set eyes who spoke of experience, told her in low voices. A number of people have vanished over the years, primarily tourists who have gone diving or snorkeling in the nearby waters. The resort had always been able to hide it by blaming the victims themselves, claiming that they drowned or claiming that accidents were to blame. The shark population near the island has become abnormally aggressive in the past 10 years, Dune said, possibly as a result of illegal fishing methods that have upset the ecosystem. However, the resort refused to admit the issue because it was keen to keep up its image as a honeymooners' and vacationers' paradise. They instead silently compensated the bereaved families and removed all mention of the incidents from the public domain. Ava's spine tingled. Stopping now was not an option, even though she knew she was on a dangerous path. She resolved to confront Elias Nevin and uncover the cover-up, so she went back to the resort. But she quickly became aware that someone was observing her. Everywhere she went, resort employees appeared, and her room had been inexplicably broken into while she was away. This disturbed Ava, but it strengthened her determination. Ava chose to take a boat out to the deeper waters where Jared had been attacked the following day. She was curious to find out if the area was unique. Concerned for her sister's safety, Meryl pleaded with Ava to stop, but she persisted. To get away from the resort and be alone, she hired Dune to take her to the reef. The unusual scarcity of fish, as though the region had been abandoned by smaller marine life, caught Ava's attention as they circled the waters. Dune clarified that this was an indication that predators were close by. Ava suddenly noticed a big shadow beneath the boat, a shark. Before vanishing into the abyss, it made 2 full circles around them. Dune insisted that they return because he had had enough. However, Ava witnessed what she had to do. The resort was aware that the waters surrounding Kuramathi Island were unsafe. Ava went back to the island and stood up to Elias. She claimed that in order to safeguard the resort's earnings, he concealed the shark attacks, endangering more lives. Elias, who remained composed and calm, acknowledged it. Rather, he cautioned her that bringing such charges to light would destroy not only the resort, but also her. According to his implication, Ava wouldn't be the first to disappear if she put in too much effort, and the resort had strong connections. Ava sent an anonymous tip to a major news outlet before leaving the island that evening, with Meryl after realizing how dangerous she was. In the weeks that followed, the cover-up at Kuramathi Isle was revealed by an investigative report broadcast on international television. The resort experienced severe criticism lawsuits from relatives of the victims and a steep drop in visitors. Following Elias Nevins's disappearance, the Maldivian government opened a formal investigation into the resort's operations. Ava's life was forever altered by what she had discovered, and she returned to Chicago. She had traveled to the Maldives in search of tranquility, but instead she had discovered a fatal secret that had claimed lives. The paradise that Kuramathi Isle had promised was merely a front for the perils that were hiding beneath it. And Ava would always remember that there is a cost to paradise. On September 5, 2024, in a small coastal town in Florida, aging fisherman Hank Lawson lived with bittersweet memories of the sea. Once a vibrant man who shared his love of fishing with his children, Hank cherished every moment spent with his family. Tragedy struck one afternoon when Hank took his wife, Karen, and their 2 children, Jake and Lily, out for a day of fishing. They enjoyed the sun, unaware of the danger lurking beneath the surface. As they anchored near a small island, a group of sharks approached, drawn by the commotion. Suddenly, a great white shark lunged at the boat. Chaos erupted, and the shark's swift attack threw Hank's family into the water. His desperate attempts to save them were in vain, and he watched in horror as his loved ones were lost. The event left Hank devastated, haunted by guilt and sorrow. Once a source of joy, the ocean became a reminder of his loss. Consumed by grief, Hank blamed himself for not protecting his family. His life shifted as he became obsessed with revenge, determined to track down the sharks, especially the great whites that had taken everything from him. Hank poured his energy into hunting sharks for years, honing his skills. His anger fueled his relentless quest, but it also isolated him. He pushed away anyone who tried to reach out, his obsession cutting him off from the world. One day, Hank met Maya, a young marine conservationist passionate about protecting marine life. Maya had heard about Hank's tragic past, and though she understood his pain, she saw the danger in his obsession. She believed humans should coexist with sharks, but Hank saw them as monsters and dismissed her views. Despite their differences, they were forced to collaborate when shark attacks increased in the area. An especially intelligent great white shark was spotted near the coast, and both knew they needed to track it down. Hank sought confrontation while Maya aimed to understand and protect the shark's behavior. As they prepared for the mission, tension ran high. Hank's thirst for revenge clashed with Maya's conservation-driven beliefs, creating an uneasy partnership. Their journey would test their beliefs, survival skills, and resilience as they ventured deeper into shark territory. The open waters were filled with danger. Hank, haunted by memories of his family, was ready to face them, while Maya sought to protect the sharks and teach Hank about their vital role in the ecosystem. Together, they embarked on a journey of peril and uncertainty, confronting natural threats and their fears. As they set sail, Hank felt the weight of his past pressing down on him. The vast ocean held the shadows of lurking sharks, and their mission would force them to confront the complex relationship between humans and predators. Hank gripped the vessel's wheel with the sun shining on the water, his heart racing with anticipation and fear. He was determined to find the great white shark that had haunted him for years. Maya sat beside him, scanning the horizon, hoping to spot signs of the predator. They had prepared thoroughly. Hank brought his fishing gear and harpoons, while Maya had underwater cameras and research tools. Though their goals differed, Hank seeking revenge and Maya seeking understanding, they knew the risks involved. As they ventured further from shore, the water grew deeper and darker. A chill ran down Hank's spine as memories of his family threatened to resurface. But he shook them off, focusing on the mission. Suddenly, a shadow moved beneath the surface, disrupting the calm. Hank's heart raced as he pointed to the spot. Maya quickly grabbed her camera. The shadow grew larger, revealing the unmistakable shape of a great white shark. The shark surfaced, its massive fin cutting through the water. Hank's determination grew, but so did the tension between him and Maya. She wanted to observe the shark while Hank saw it as his enemy. As they edged closer, the shark circled their boat, its eyes locked on them. The moment was both exhilarating and terrifying. Suddenly, the shark lunged at the boat, sending a massive splash into the air. Hank maneuvered the vessel to avoid a direct hit. The ship shook violently and Maya gripped the railing, her heart pounding. Fear surged through Hank. This wasn't just a predator, but a powerful, intelligent creature defending its territory. As the great white circled again, Hank realized the shark was challenging him. His thirst for revenge conflicted with a growing respect for its strength. He realized they were intruding on the shark's domain. Maya sought knowledge and focused on documenting its movements while Hank was torn. His desire for vengeance clashed with a newfound respect for the creature's power. As night fell, the ocean became darker, and Hank felt the weight of his mission. He knew he had to face the great white, but understood that his actions carried deep responsibility. The next morning they regrouped. Hank realized he had to confront the shark without putting either of them in danger. This wasn't just a hunt anymore, but a path to redemption. Hank and Maya plunged into the ocean's depths, confronting the great white shark. It wasn't merely a matter of survival. It was about understanding the delicate balance of life beneath the waves. The experience transformed them both. For Hank, it became a journey of redemption. For Maya, a powerful lesson in coexistence. Although the ocean still held many mysteries, they faced their greatest challenge together and emerged stronger. The peaceful fishing community of Kapaya was located on the Hawaiian island of Kauai. When local fisherman Kalani Mahalona set out on his little weathered boat, the sun's golden rays fell on the calm turquoise waters. He had been making a living from fishing for almost 30 years, and the village had become accustomed to his frequent visits. The rustle of palm trees and the hum of the ocean were more familiar than the bustle of the outside world in Kapa, where time seemed to pass more slowly. The village was primarily dependent on fishing and tourism, the latter of which brought in curious tourists, hoping to take in the unspoiled splendor of the Hawaiian coastlines. Kalani had been fishing in these waters without any problems for years. Attacks by sharks were even more uncommon than sightings. Kalani had never had any cause to be afraid of great white sharks, because they were uncommon in these tropical waters. However, something was different that morning. He felt a sense of unease as he cast his nets. The typically clear water appeared darker, as though something was hiding beneath it. The water erupted as Kalani was about to pull up his final catch of the day after hours had passed. The boat rocked violently before he could react as a huge shadow rose from the depths. Larger than any Kalani had ever envisioned, the great white shark crashed into the side of his ship. The creature struck in a rage, its jaws snapping with terrifying accuracy. Despite Kalani's struggles, the ocean quickly turned red. The very waters that the fisherman had known his entire life had claimed him, and he was no longer there. The shark had crushed him before leaving his lifeless body and disappeared into the deep. Kapa was shocked to learn of Kalani's passing. These waters had never seen a shark attack, so losing one of their own, particularly one with Kalani's level of experience, left a lasting wound. At first, the local authorities dismissed it as a single tragic incident, an unfortunate run-in with a rogue predator. However, the explanation didn't sit well with Daniel Mahalona Kalani's son. Daniel, a marine biologist who specialized in shark behavior, had been researching sharks for years. He had traveled across the Pacific for work, But he felt that the waters around Hawaii were safe for both people and sharks. From colder waters, great whites in particular hardly ever traveled this far. Daniel was determined to discover what it was that had brought this person here. Daniel started his investigation after his father's funeral and returned to Kapa. He talked to other fishermen who had been out on the water that day just like his father. The weeks before the attack, according to several, saw an abnormally high number of sharks nearer the coast. A few had even managed to catch a glimpse of big dark shapes beneath their boats. At that point, Daniel's suspicions began to grow. This type of shallow water was not the only place where sharks gathered, and not in such large quantities. The natural equilibrium was altered by something. Daniel made a startling discovery as he dug deeper. He discovered abandoned fishing gear, including hooks and lines intended for something much bigger than catching mahi-mahi or tuna. There were indications of illicit poaching on the gear, similar to what is used by those involved in the shark fin trade. Poachers frequently used bait to entice sharks to kill them for their fins, and then discard the rest of the carcass. The fins, which are considered a delicacy in some parts of the world, could fetch outrageous prices. Daniel was struck with the realization. Great whites and other sharks were attracted to the waters near Kapa because they had been purposefully baited. The ecosystem had been upset by the greedy and careless poachers, endangering the sharks as well as the locals. His father had now paid the price. However, Daniel's investigation grew increasingly risky as he discovered more. He was sorting through the evidence he had gathered late one evening when someone knocked on his door. An unfamiliar man cautioned him to cease his inquiries. Tourism was the village's main source of income, so reports of poaching and shark attacks would ruin their way of life. The message was clear. Daniel would be endangering not only himself but the entire village if he persisted. Faced with this dilemma, Daniel struggled. He knew the truth needed to come out, but he also understood the village's dependence on the ocean and the tourists it brought. The poachers were abusing this delicate balance, and everything could be destroyed if they were caught. However, if nothing were done, more human and shark lives would be in danger. Following a second shark attack a few days later, Daniel made his decision. This time, the victim was a young surfer who had entered the baited waters as a tourist. Despite the surfer's survival, the incident rocked the community, and tales of killer sharks quickly spread. Large swaths of the beach were closed by the authorities under duress, further harming the already precarious local economy. After deciding he could no longer keep quiet, Daniel presented his findings to the environmental organization in his community. He urged them to act after gathering testimony from fishermen who had witnessed suspicious activity and proof of illegal poaching. The agency was initially reluctant due to the potential impact on tourism, but eventually agreed to investigate. The crackdown was swift. Over the following weeks, several poaching vessels were seized and their operators arrested. News of the illegal shark fin trade operation spread, but Daniel and the environmental agency worked hard to ensure the narrative focused on the poachers, not the sharks. They emphasized the importance of protecting both the marine life and the people of Kapa, highlighting the need for sustainable fishing practices and stricter enforcement of fishing regulations. In the aftermath, the village struggled to recover from the blows to its economy. Tourism took a temporary hit, but over time the story of Kapa became one of resilience, not tragedy. The beaches reopened and visitors returned, drawn in by the village's commitment to preserving its natural beauty. Daniel, though forever marked by the loss of his father, continued his work as a marine biologist, advocating for the protection of marine ecosystems and raising awareness about the dangers of illegal poaching. In the end, Kalani's death had not been in vain. The waters around Kapa began to heal, and the sharks, once lured in by greed, returned to their natural patterns. The village, though changed, endured, bound together by the knowledge that they had faced the threat and emerged stronger. In the summer of 2008, both residents and visitors swarmed the beaches of the Western Cape region of South Africa. Mossel Bay, a seaside town renowned for its breathtaking vistas and immaculate waters, has developed into a major venue for open-water swimming events. Cape Town native Rachel Venter, a professional swimmer, had been a regular presence in these waters for a long time. Over time, she had established herself as one of the nation's best open-water swimmers. However, something unthinkable happened on that fateful day as she got ready for yet another swim. Adventurers and thrill-seekers had long flocked to Mossel Bay. Rachel slipped into the water after adjusting her goggles as the summer sun pounded the bay. She was swimming as part of her preparation for an impending competition, and it was a routine swim. Unaware that they were going to see something frightful, the crowd gathered along the shoreline, enjoying the afternoon. With the strength and grace she had developed over years of focused training, Rachel's body sliced through the waves as she moved fluidly through the water. But there was a stir beneath the surface. Sharks patrolled these waters, and Rachel had always known about them. The dangers were known to her. An almost 5-meter-long great white, however, swam closer to the coast than usual on this particular day. Sharks typically stayed away from people, but this one seemed different, almost agitated. The predator's enormous jaws suddenly closed around Rachel's leg with terrifying force as it leaped upward from the depths. The assault was brutal and quick and ended in a matter of seconds as the shark went back into the deep. The water surrounding Rachel turned crimson as her screams shattered the atmosphere. On the beach, panic broke out. She was already damaged when rescue crews and lifeguards rushed to her aid. The shark disappeared back into the depths as swiftly as it had appeared. Rachel was hauled from the water, her leg ripped and gushing blood, barely conscious. Her professional swimming career was in ruins, but she lived. She would always carry the emotional and physical scars. After several weeks, Rachel withdrew into herself. The athlete who had once been lively and self-assured was now overcome with fear and plagued by attack-related nightmares. The doctors had told her she was lucky to be alive, but Rachel didn't feel lucky. Every time she looked at her scarred leg, she was reminded of the creature lurking beneath the surface, waiting for the next victim. But something else troubled her. The shark's behavior had been odd. Why had it come so close to shore? Why had it attacked with such aggression? Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. She began to research shark attacks in the area. She discovered a disturbing trend. Incidents of shark aggression had been increasing not just in Mossel Bay, but all along South Africa's southern coast. Determined to find answers, she reached out to a local marine biologist, Dr. Cale van Rooyen. Cale, a quiet and reflective man with a deep passion for marine conservation, had been studying shark behavior for over 2 decades. He had noticed the same pattern but had struggled to find a concrete explanation. Rachel and Cale began to investigate together. They combed through data on shark populations' migration patterns and environmental changes. It wasn't long before they uncovered something alarming. A series of underwater construction projects had been underway for the past few years. Companies were building massive tunnels to transport natural gas from offshore rigs to the mainland. These underwater structures, though necessary for the energy industry, were disrupting marine ecosystems in ways that no one had anticipated. The tunnels emitted low-frequency sound vibrations that traveled for miles through the water. The sharks were confused by these noises and moved closer to the coast in pursuit of food or safety. They were becoming more hostile and likely to attack because the very existence of these structures was changing their innate behavior. Clearly, Rachel and Cale needed to take action. The construction companies, backed by powerful investors, were unlikely to halt their projects without significant pressure. The two of them began gathering evidence, conducting interviews with local fishermen, and documenting the changes in shark behavior. Rachel, still struggling with her trauma, found that the search for answers gave her a renewed sense of purpose. She would never swim professionally again, but she could still make a difference. After months of research, Rachel and Cale presented their findings to the local government. The hearings were tense. Representatives from the construction companies argued that the tunnels were essential for the region's economic growth. But the evidence was clear. Unless something were done to mitigate the impact of these projects, shark attacks would continue, putting countless lives at risk. In the end, the government was forced to reevaluate the construction plans. New regulations were put in place to minimize the disruption to marine life, and several of the most harmful projects were scaled back. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. Rachel, though still scarred, had found a way to move forward. Though she would never race through the water again, She reclaimed her strength differently. The ocean, once her greatest love and greatest fear, had become her cause. On March 25, 2024, the seasoned crew aboard the fishing vessel Horizon's Edge embarked on another night patrol in the deep waters off the coast of Florida. The crew comprised experienced fishermen who had spent years working together. Captain Mike Dawson, a man in his 50s known for his deep knowledge of the sea and its mysteries, was at the helm. Mike's calm demeanor put his crew at ease, even during the toughest conditions. He had seen many things in his career, but always looked for the unexpected. The crew comprised Jake, the first mate in his 30s. He had a natural fishing talent, having worked on boats since his teens. Enthusiastic and sharp-eyed, he often spotted unusual things before others. Emily, the ship's biologist in her late 20s, was passionate about marine life and provided valuable insights into sea creatures. Tom, a reliable deckhand in his 40s, was known for his strength and always ensured the crew's safety during their shifts. On this particular night, the atmosphere was calm, with the moon shining brightly over the water. The crew was focused on their duties, preparing their gear for a routine catch. However, something unusual caught their attention as they moved further from shore. Using their night vision equipment, they noticed a large mass moving beneath the surface. Piqued by curiosity, they decided to approach cautiously. The crew was shocked to see a school of unnaturally large sharks swimming together as they got closer. Their size and how they moved in unison were unlike anything the crew had ever witnessed. It was as if the sharks were exhibiting coordinated behavior, which raised alarms in Emily's mind. She began to speculate about what could be causing this strange phenomenon. Tension hung in the air as the crew watched the sharks, their instincts warning them of potential danger. Suddenly, without warning, one of the sharks lunged out of the water and attacked one of the sailors leaning over the side of the boat. The crew erupted into chaos, shouting in horror as they rushed to help their colleague. The attack was swift and brutal, sending shockwaves of fear through everyone aboard the Horizon's Edge. Captain Mike barked orders for the crew to retreat to safety in the frenzy, but the panic was palpable. They quickly grabbed emergency equipment and desperately called for backup. The situation was unprecedented, and the crew realized they were facing something never documented in marine biology. The sheer size and aggression of the sharks indicated that they were not acting normally. With the vessel now in a state of emergency, the crew had to come together and devise a plan to protect themselves. Mike and Jake took charge, assessing the injuries and ensuring everyone was accounted for. Emily's scientific knowledge began to kick in as she tried to figure out why the sharks behaved this way. She wondered if something in the environment had triggered this unusual behavior. As the crew worked to stabilize the situation, they couldn't shake the fear of what they were dealing with. They were not just fishermen anymore. They were caught fighting for survival against an aggressive force of nature. The night that had started so calmly had turned into a nightmare, and the mystery of the sharks loomed large in their minds. The Horizon's Edge was now in uncharted waters, literally and metaphorically, and the crew knew they had to find a way to survive the night. The crew quickly gathered their wits to formulate a plan as the chaos continued on the Horizon's Edge. Captain Mike assessed the situation, realizing that they needed to move fast. The injured sailor was in shock, and they had to get him to safety. Jake and Tom worked together to pull the sailor away from the boat's edge, keeping him calm despite the chaos surrounding them. Emily used her training to check the sailor's injuries, applying pressure to stop the bleeding. She knew they had to act quickly to prevent further harm. The sight of the large, aggressive shark swimming close to the boat made her heart race, but she forced herself to stay focused. She recalled her studies about shark behavior and understood that something was wrong in the ocean. These sharks were not acting like normal predators. They were coordinated and appeared to be hunting as a group. With the injured sailor stabilized, Mike ordered the crew to raise the anchor and prepare to leave the area. They needed to get away from the sharks and find a safer spot. As the crew worked to maneuver the boat, the tension in the air was thick with fear. Every splash of water or sudden movement sent a jolt of anxiety through them. Just as they thought they might be able to escape, the sharks circled the boat again, showing no signs of retreat. Their large bodies moved in sync beneath the water, creating a sense of unease among the crew. It was as if the sharks knew of their presence and would not let them leave easily. The crew quickly realized they were facing an attack and a mysterious behavior that could threaten their survival. Mike steered the boat away from the area with the engine roaring to life, hoping to distance themselves from the aggressive school of sharks. However, the sharks followed closely, indicating they needed to be finished. Emily's mind raced as she wondered why these sharks acted this way. She knew that environmental changes could affect marine life, but what could have caused such a dramatic shift in behavior? Emily quickly jotted down her observations as they sped away, documenting everything she could about the sharks' actions. She understood that this incident could lead to significant discoveries about marine biology. But right now, her main concern was the safety of her crew. After an eternity, the crew finally reached a quieter part of the water. The sharks seemed to lose interest, allowing the crew to sigh in relief. They quickly anchored the boat and assessed the damage. The injured sailors needed immediate medical attention, but they had managed to escape the jaws of danger. Once they were safe, the crew gathered to discuss what had just happened. They shared their thoughts on the sharks' unusual behavior and speculated about the reasons behind it. Emily suggested that water temperature or pollution changes might drive the sharks to act aggressively. The crew agreed they must report their findings to the local marine authorities. The aftermath of the encounter was not just about surviving the night. It was about understanding the implications of their experience. The crew had faced a terrifying ordeal that could have ended in tragedy, but they emerged with a newfound respect for the power of nature. They realized they needed to be more cautious and aware of their environmental impact. The crew members were determined to share their story as they returned to shore. They hoped that by raising awareness about the behavior of these sharks, they could contribute to protecting marine life and the safety of those who ventured out to sea. On July 15, 2024, the coastal community of Clearwater Beach was struck by a series of shocking shark attacks. The attacks led to widespread panic among residents and visitors, forcing local authorities to act immediately. In response to the alarming situation, a specialized rescue team was assembled to investigate the incidents and ensure the safety of everyone in the water. The Ocean Guardians rescue team consisted of highly skilled professionals with expertise in marine biology, underwater rescue, and shark behavior. Captain Laura James, a seasoned marine biologist in her early 40s, led the team. Laura was respected for her deep knowledge of sharks and extensive rescue operations experience. Mark, a veteran diver, was known for his quick thinking and calm nature. He excelled in underwater rescues and connected with marine life. Sarah, a passionate shark researcher in her late 20s, focused on great white behavior and offered invaluable insights. Eric, a veteran lifeguard familiar with local waters, brought practical rescue skills and risk assessment to the team. As the Ocean Guardians arrived at Clearwater Beach, they were met with concerned faces and a palpable sense of fear. The recent attacks had closed the beach, and many locals were worried about their safety. The team quickly gathered information from witnesses and analyzed reports about the incidents. It became evident that something unusual was happening in the waters. After equipping themselves with the necessary gear, the team set out to dive into the ocean. They planned to rescue any stranded swimmers and uncover the cause behind the aggressive shark behavior. As they entered the water, the team's determination was palpable. They knew they had to act swiftly to prevent further attacks and protect the community. Once submerged, the divers began their search. The ocean was dark and vast, and they relied on their training and instincts to navigate. As they swam deeper, they noticed distress among the local marine life. Fish scattered in all directions, and the water felt charged with tension. The team communicated through hand signals, aware of the potential danger lurking nearby. Suddenly, the divers spotted a large shadow moving through the water. It was a great white shark, larger than they had anticipated. The shark circled, displaying a sense of dominance that sent chills down their spines. The team quickly recognized that this was no ordinary predator. It seemed to be orchestrating the attacks, actively hunting for swimmers. The atmosphere grew tense as the shark approached. Laura signaled the team to remain calm and focused. They had to observe the shark's behavior closely and look for patterns. As they swam in a tight formation, the shark moved closer, testing their presence. The team felt the weight of their mission. They needed to find a way to communicate or deter this intelligent predator before more lives were lost. As they continued their observations, the shark moved, lunging towards them in an aggressive display. The team quickly reacted, using their training to maneuver away from the attack. Panic surged, but they held their composure, understanding that their response could mean the difference between life and death. The Ocean Guardians knew they were facing a formidable challenge. With the shark acting as the orchestrator of chaos in the waters, they had to devise a plan to ensure the safety of the community and themselves. The threat was real, and the stakes were high. The battle for survival had just begun, and the team needed to rely on each other as they navigated the treacherous waters in the looming presence of the great white shark. As the Ocean Guardians faced the great white shark, the tension in the water was thick with fear and uncertainty. The shark swam in circles around them, its massive body gliding through the ocean with power and grace. The team had to think quickly to stay safe. They knew that any wrong move could provoke the shark further. Captain Laura James led the team with calm determination. She reminded her divers to keep their movements smooth and controlled. They needed to avoid splashing or sudden movements that could attract the shark's attention. Instead, they focused on gathering data and understanding the predator's behavior. Mark and Sarah took the opportunity to observe the shark closely. They noted its patterns and movements, hoping to find clues about why it was behaving so aggressively. While the team stayed vigilant, they also needed to plan their next steps. They could not remain in the water indefinitely, especially with the risk of further attacks. Eric suggested that they create a diversion to distract the shark while they returned to the submarine's safety. The team agreed that this was necessary. Using equipment from their dive gear, the team began to work on their plan. They prepared a small underwater device designed to emit sound waves. This device could confuse the shark and draw its attention away from the divers. Sarah positioned the device to create vibrations in the water while the others swam in a formation that allowed them to maintain a clear line of sight. As they activated the device, the sound waves pulsed through the ocean. The great white shark paused, momentarily distracted by the noise. The team seized this opportunity to swim toward the safety of the submarine. As they approached the submarine, the shark turned and followed them. Its interest peaked again. The team quickly climbed aboard, scrambling to get inside and secure the hatch. Inside the submarine, the team assessed their situation. They were shaken but grateful to have escaped the immediate threat. They gathered around the control panel, determined to analyze what they had witnessed. Sarah reviewed the data collected during the dive, seeking answers to the shark's unusual behavior. Tension remained high as they discussed the next steps. They realized that understanding the great white's behavior was crucial to ensuring the safety of the coastal community. The team decided to share their findings with marine biologists and authorities on the surface, hoping to create a plan to prevent future attacks. As they prepared to surface, Laura reflected on the day's events. The encounters with the shark had opened their eyes to the complexities of marine life and the need for more research. Once they surfaced, the team could have spent more time relaying their findings to the local authorities. They described the great white shark's behavior and the need for immediate action to protect both swimmers and the shark itself. They understood these creatures were vital to the ecosystem, and addressing the situation required a thoughtful approach. After their experience, the Ocean Guardians became advocates for shark conservation and education. They organized community outreach programs to raise awareness about sharks and the importance of respecting marine life. Their mission evolved from a rescue team to a voice for the ocean, emphasizing unity and understanding between humans and wildlife. On July 8, 2024, the luxury yacht, the Ocean Jewel, departed from Miami, carrying affluent passengers eager for a lavish getaway. The yacht boasted gourmet dining, a pool, and attentive staff. Among the guests were Richard and Emily Hawthorne, a successful real estate couple in their 50s, along with their daughter Sarah, a recent college graduate. Known for enjoying luxury vacations, they had high expectations for the trip. Also aboard was Marcus Wright, a charismatic tech entrepreneur, and his business partner, Lisa Chen, a sharp investor. They were celebrating a lucrative deal they had just finalized. Another couple aboard was Tom and Linda Carter, a retired pair passionate about world travel. Seasoned cruisers, calm demeanor, and stories made them well liked by the group. As the yacht sailed further, the weather changed unexpectedly. Dark clouds gathered and winds intensified faster than the crew anticipated. A peaceful day at sea quickly turned chaotic. Waves crashed against the yacht and the wind howled fiercely. Passengers scrambled for life jackets as the boat swayed violently. In moments, the storm worsened, capsizing the yacht and plunging everyone into the dark, churning sea. Panic ensued as they fought to stay afloat. Amid the chaos, Richard, Emily, and Sarah found each other clinging to a raft that had broken free from the yacht. Tom and Linda also managed to hold on to a makeshift raft, but were separated from Marcus and Lisa, who struggled in the stormy waters. The passengers' shock shifted to survival as the storm raged on. They soon realized they were in shark-infested waters, the scent of fuel and commotion drawing the sharks closer. The constant threat of attack heightened their desperation. When the storm subsided, reality sank in. They were stranded, isolated, and surrounded by danger. With limited supplies and hope fading, tension grew as sharks circled beneath, their fins breaking the surface, a stark reminder of their difficult situation. Richard tried to maintain order, urging everyone to stay together and conserve energy, but the stress began to take its toll. Disagreements arose as survival instincts kicked in and tempers flared. The group faced both physical challenges and internal conflicts. As night fell, darkness brought an eerie quiet. The sound of waves against the rafts was constant, and below them sharks silently circled, their presence felt but unseen. The passengers knew they had to stay vigilant. One wrong move could be fatal. Nature's brutal reality was clear. Their luxurious lives felt distant as they faced the ocean's power and lurking predators. The struggle for survival had begun, and they had to work together to make it through the night. As darkness enveloped the ocean, the group aboard the makeshift rafts faced a dire situation. The calm after the storm brought little relief, leaving them with fear and uncertainty. Richard, Emily, and Sarah huddled together for warmth and strength, watching the shark's fins slicing through the surface, a constant reminder of the lurking danger. Tension hung in the air, and the survivors knew that even a small splash could draw the shark's attention. Richard urged them to form a plan, suggesting they gather floating debris to stabilize their rafts and stay together. Sarah spotted some wood nearby, and with her father's encouragement, they began collecting it. Meanwhile, Tom and Linda worked to secure their raft. Seeing Marcus and Lisa struggling a short distance away, Tom waved them over. Despite the risk, Marcus and Lisa carefully paddled toward Tom and Linda's raft, avoiding splashes to minimize the chance of attracting sharks. Once together, the group discussed their situation, recognizing the need to stay calm and focused and conserve energy and supplies. Linda suggested taking shifts to watch for sharks while others rested, ensuring they stayed alert without exhausting themselves. Everyone agreed, knowing that teamwork was essential for survival. As the night wore on, the sharks continued circling, their dark shapes a constant reminder of the danger. The survivors felt the weight of their predicament, worrying about their loved ones and the fate of those still on the yacht. The vast isolation of the ocean felt overwhelming. At dawn, the first light brought a brief hope as the sunrise cast a warm glow on the water. But that hope quickly faded. As the sun rose, the sharks grew more active, their behavior becoming increasingly aggressive. Sarah suddenly spotted a shark speeding toward their raft, sparking panic in the group. The massive shark lunged, its jaws wide. Richard instinctively pushed Sarah back, putting himself in danger. Quick thinking, Marcus grabbed a piece of wood and splashed it in the water, trying to distract the shark. The splash startled the shark, causing it to veer off but quickly circled back. The group knew they had to stay united to fend off the threat. They began banging on the rafts and splashing water, hoping the noise would deter the sharks. The next few hours dragged on as the survivors made noise while others rested. Exhaustion set in and their supplies dwindled. Richard and Marcus discussed signaling for help, recognizing that staying in one place was dangerous, but knowing they needed to find a way to safety. As midday approached, the group spotted a distant boat. Hope surged as they realized rescue might be near. They waved their arms and shouted, careful not to splash and attract the sharks' attention. The fishing boat slowed as its crew noticed the survivors. However, the sharks grew more aggressive as the vessel approached, drawn by the movement and noise. Just as the boat reached them, chaos ensued. One shark lunged at Sarah, who was near the raft's edge. Richard swiftly pulled her back, but the sudden motion caused a wave that threw the group off balance. The shark's powerful body slammed into the raft, sending everyone scrambling to hold on. The fishing crew sprang into action, tossing a rope to the survivors, who grabbed it and fought against the relentless sharks. With adrenaline pumping, they pulled themselves toward the safety of the boat. Finally, the survivors were pulled aboard the fishing vessel and collapsed on the deck, shaken but relieved. The crew tended to their injuries while the group reflected on their ordeal. The experience had deeply impacted them, starkly reminding them of nature's raw power and the importance of safety at sea. Together, they carried the memory of their struggle and the lessons learned into their future.